Hi, I'm back again and here to talk about the new story collection from J. Robert Lennon. It's called See You in Paradise and it's published by Serpent's Tail in the UK. Stories are how I was first introduced to J. Robert Lennon. Many years ago I read a collection called Pieces for the Left Hand, which I absolutely loved. And therefore it's very stupid of me not to have read many of his novels in between then and now. I did correct that recently when I read Familiar, which was also published by Serpent's Tail, and I really enjoyed that novel. If you want to find out more about why I did, I'll put a little button here and you can press that and it'll take you through to the video for that review. But what he does brilliantly, Lennon, is to write about a very recognisable American suburbia and very recognisable modern lives, but to change little subtle details and sometimes not so subtle details to make the stories sometimes quite fantastical. But he's always very much talking about the world that we all live in. I'll give you an example. The first story in this collection is called Portal, and in that story a family discover a magical portal in their garden, and it can transport them obviously to new places. And what I love about the story is that in the story the portal is not working very well. It's a little bit broken. It's almost like it's coming towards the end of its life cycle, and it sort of seems to be picking up on their fears and fantasies, and that's where it takes them. And obviously they bring some of that back into their real life. And to me, the story seems to be talking very much about our modern fascination with technology, which of course can transport us to amazing places, and of course can also sometimes not work particularly well. But what it does mean is that we're sometimes not brilliant at engaging with reality, and in particular, engaging with each other. And within a family unit, we've all seen families who are sat around in a restaurant and they're all staring at their own portal and not really engaging with each other. So that's a good example of a story in which he seems to be writing something rather fantastical, but it's very much about the world that we live in and the lives that we all lead. There's great humour that runs throughout a lot of these stories. Zombie Dan is a good example of that. This is a world in which it's possible to bring people back from the dead, and a group of college friends, having said goodbye to a not particularly close friend of theirs, then have the rather socially awkward situation of having to say hello to him again when he comes back. He is not quite the same person at all, and there's some great humour about the awkwardness and embarrassment of that situation, about how even when somebody's been brought back from the dead, it doesn't mean they can't steal your girlfriend, and the consequences of this whole scenario, which are very, very funny. It's also the reason why the woman on the cover is smoking a cigarette with the wrong end lit. I will not tell you why. You'll have to read the story to find out why. That is a very small but significant detail. It's a fantastically enjoyable story, and as I said, there's a great humour that runs throughout these stories. There's also a great dark streak, and in particular when he's talking about marriage or relationships, he really isn't afraid of getting a little bit dark. A couple who are trying to adopt a child get into a very, very sort of competitive situation with another set of parents. A woman rediscovers her passion for her husband in a story called Hibachi, which has a very violent tinge to it. And there's a great story called The Wraith, which sort of makes physical an idea. So in it, a woman, we all have different sides to our personality, and in the story, a woman literally cleaves her personality in two. So in the morning, she leaves for work all happy and joyous and leaves behind the grey and rather depressed side of herself, but made physical, made flesh. And her husband has to deal with this other person, this wraith, in his house. And it's a great story about what the logical consequences would be if you might have to deal with the different sides of somebody's personality made flesh. His ideas are always fascinating and often delivered, as I said, with a great humour, and that's what makes this collection so enjoyable. There doesn't feel to be a weak link in it, and very much like that previous collection I read, Pieces of the Left Hand, they just make you very happy to read because they're filled with lots of lovely ideas and great creativity. That's what makes him quite a unique writer, I think. So do check him out if you haven't read him already, and I promise that I will try and read some more of his novels because I'm sure they'll be just as brilliant. That is J. Robert Lennon. Next, I'm going to be looking at some ideas for you for Christmas, because we all like to have ideas about books we could buy people for Christmas. I'll be giving you some of my favourite books from this year to give you a little helping hand. Join me next week. Take care.